Hey guys, welcome back to Rocket Kyan, my fellow space tubers. Okay, so we are here again to witness the SpaceX. Wait a sec. Let me set up the countdown timer. Okay. Here we are, guys. Sorry about that. You must be hearing me right now, right? My voice is coming, right? Okay, so yeah, so SpaceX is gonna launch today the SXM-7 mission, and this mission got scrubbed yesterday, no, day before yesterday because of some ground support equipment issue, and here we are again today to witness it. So SpaceX, revolutionary company. I won't talk about it because many of you know about it. This is the thing which they tested recently, and it was just a spectacular one. And also the human spaceflight capability of this. I mean, some companies and countries don't have this capability of launching humans into space, and this private space company has this capability. That's a huge booster to them. Kudos to them, and obviously they can dock to the International Space Station. I mean, whatever thing you say, and SpaceX can do it. Uh, that's the thing. So let's have a look at the Falcon 9 rocket now. And hi Pooja, hi Preet, hi Gary, hi Angel. So now this is the Falcon 9 rocket. We have the Falcon 9 rocket, if you don't know, is a two-stage rocket, and the milestones it has achieved is it has total 100 launches. This will be the 101 successful launch. 61 land is 43 reflown rockets. So it's a two-stage rockets. Here you can see this is some configuration of what it can have. I mean, the payload to low Earth orbit is 22.8 ton. Geotransfer orbit is 8.3 tons, and today we are going to a geotransfer orbit. Okay, and the payload to Mars is 4 tons. So this thing can launch something to Mars also in its expendable configuration. Okay, when the booster is not reused. In that case, the payload capacities are listed here. Then this is the first stage we have. The first stage you can see here has the Falcon 9. First stage has this 9 Merlin engines. Let me just have that for you. So here we have the 9 Merlin engines. 1D engines arranged in octawave configuration produces 7,607 kilonewtons of thrust and runs on gas generator power cycle. I'll talk about that in a bit. And the landing legs, obviously the landing legs is used for its reusability. Today we will be they will be landing this, not I, obviously they will be landing this thing onto Just Read the Instruction drone ship, right now stationed on into the Atlantic Ocean. And obviously the SpaceX streams, by it is always delight to watch. I mean, rocket launches are always delight to watch, but SpaceX has its bonus factor that because of that spectacular landing it has, it always has a delight to watch. Then the second stage uses MVAC engine, which is a Merlin vacuum optimized engine. And since it is a vacuum optimized engine, it can't be run here at sea level, because if we run here at this thing at sea level, then it can damage the engine because of that inflow of the air pressure which it is having outside there. So that's why we can't test it here, and that's why testing is also done in pure vacuum when it comes to that thing. Then we have the interstage. The interstage is used and has this grid fins which is used to aerodynamically control for the landing. And the payload we'll talk about bit about the payload here. And yeah, the Merlin engine is a very good and advanced engine in its own category. I mean the RP1 category, if you can say that, because it produces 845 kilonewtons of thrust and is reusable, refurbishable, runs on gas generator power cycle, and was used in Falcon 1, Falcon 9, and Falcon Heavy. And it is very reliable rocket engine also. I mean, it does not have many failures. If you count in all the failures and successes, it will be come to around 97%. And then this is the vacuum optimized Merlin engine we have. This Merlin engine, you can see it does not have that pre-burner exhaust coming out of it as in here. This is because it also runs on gas generator cycle, but the thing with this thing is all the exhaust is fed back into the combustor chamber to cool it down, because the gas which comes out of this thing here, as this is a gas generator power cycle, is a cooler gas than this thing because it runs on fuel rich cycle. Okay, and this thing is fed back into the combustion chamber to cool down the temperatures and reduce the effects on the combustion chamber as well as the nozzle, because it does not have the regenerative cooling here. Instead it does have the radiators on it. So yeah, that helps in that. So that was the pretty much about the rocket itself. Now hi Pooja, I was talking about, yes, yes, yeah, I know. So please don't spam in here, and let's just keep the chat delightful and happy. Okay. Now, have we can have a look at what is the payload today. So here we have the payload today. You can see this thing here that this payload is a Sirius SXM-7 satellite. So everyone like messes up with that thing, right? So this is a Sirius SXM-7 satellite, and this is you can say the seventh generation or the seventh satellite of the Sirius space Sirius company. And the Sirius, what is that Sirius company? Sirius company is the broadcasting company, radio broadcasting company, which serves in US and Canada. Okay, so this is the satellite, how it looks like. Let me have some facts about it. I mean, this is a high power broadcasting satellite, and right now the series or Sirius XM satellite constellation consists of 5 satellites in geostationary orbit, and this SXM-7 is one of the 2 upcoming satellites, of the other being the SXM-8, which is launching in early 2021. Okay, and it will enhance the connectivity and broadcasting capability of the company. So that's the thing about it. Now we can have a look at, I mean, those thing, the mission profile, obviously. So looking at the mission profile, that is also a bit different this time. If you have known and joined in for the previous stream, like we have the normal launch, ascent, and MECO and stage separation, and the second engine start one. We have that. That's okay. Nothing is changed, and the second stage then proceeds to the orbit. But for the first stage, it performs. First of all, it performs a flip maneuver. Then it performs a boost back burn. I mean, this boost back burn, I think so, is being performed here because it is going to a geo transfer orbit, and most of the work they need to do with the first stage, because otherwise the first stage would have saved its fuel and then landed onto the Atlantic Ocean. But here, in case I don't know, maybe this is the case. It is a lighter satellite, that's why it is boosting it away, and for a longer time, I mean, for a longer time, and that's why it is missing its trajectory to hit the drone ship. That's why it is performing this boost back burn here, because it can. That's why it's maybe the payload is lighter for it. And then boost back burn is performed, and then the entry burn is performed. This entry burn is used to reduce the effects, and then aerodynamic guidance with the interstage grid fins, and then finally the drone ship landing. Talking about the payload capacity and everything, let me have use. Okay, let me tell you about the payload. I mean, what is the weight of the payload? Payload mass is around 7 tons, 7 kilograms, 7 tons. So it is obviously very less weight in terms of what it can carry to the geotransfer orbit. So yeah, that's why I think is the thing. So talking about some milestones of this thing, this is the seventh flight of this booster, which is the, you can say, the highest SpaceX has achieved. It achieved the seventh flight of a boosters previously in the previous month also, and now it is again repeating this with another booster with the seventh flight, and this will be that, and it will be the first time a booster is used more than 4 times and has flown a primary commercial payload on it. This is the first time that. And yeah, for and talking about the fairing, the fairings is also used. Like the first fairing is one half of the fairing is reused, and the second half of the fairing is new. So this is the reusability of the second the fairing also. So you can see how much SpaceX reuses its components and saves the everything, I must say. Now let me see if we do have any stream or something from the SpaceX. Just a sec here. Waiting for them to start the stream here, but usually they should they start right now. Let me see if we have any kind of issue with the launch time, because the weather was 60% favorable, and it could happen that uh, yeah, till now no sign of vapors on the Falcon 9 at this time. Okay, first of all, let me change this thing so you can enjoy a bit good view of whatever is happening. This thing is a good treat for eyes to enjoy, right? So let me have this thing play and update you regarding what is happening right now. So uh, is it still we don't have any confirmation of the propellant being loaded on this at this time, and the propellant loading on the SpaceX Falcon 9 starts at T minus 16 minutes, and we are already in that criteria, like T minus 15 minutes is there, and we have no confirmation on propellant loading. Maybe they are testing something else. So this simply means since the propellant loading has not started yet, they do have a launch window of 1 hour and 59 minutes. So they must be targeting at some other launch window, because the thing is, why do they do this? I mean, they have a 1 hour and 59 minutes launch window. That's cool. I mean, they can proceed with the countdown, and then they can you can say see if the weather permits at that time when it's the liftoff time, and go with that. But sometimes they do that when they have like some probability of having the weather cleared. Otherwise they don't do that, and if they have some backup time, like in today they have a launch window of 1 hour and 59 minutes, they push the timings. Maybe because of the weather it is happening right now, we don't know. This thing also had a scrub previously because of the uh, this ground support equipment issue, and maybe something has happened there. But I'm talking about if we consider it as a weather perspective, then what happens if it is like a weather perspective, like on the into the liftoff time we don't have a good weather, they will try to push it further ahead. Okay, and why do they do it? Because when once the fuel is loaded onto the spacecraft, onto the Falcon 9, basically not spacecraft, Falcon 9, then it has a high probability of being boiled off and not being topped off properly, and the Falcon 9 tanks are not properly fully fueled. So that's why, to avoid that thing, because the fuels which the Falcon 9 uses is at cryogenic temperature at minus 180 degrees Celsius, and so that thing boils off during the flight and during its loading and everything, and that's why you see those white fumes around the rocket. So to avoid that, I mean, boiling off of the liquid, and we have the maximum amount of fuel in the fuel tanks. The SpaceX fuels it at the, you can say, continue fueling it till the last time of the liftoff at around T minus 2 minutes or so. It secures the lift this fuel tanks for liftoff. So yeah, and if they will like, if the weather does not permit it, the fuel will be loaded onto the fuel will be loading onto the fuel tanks, and it will start boiling off, and they won't get proper amount of fuel for the flight. That's why they push them further. Okay. Oh, we have a hold here, and 13 minute. No, we have a hold. There are no indication at this time that SpaceX is proceeding with the launch at the opening of today. Yes, Angel, you are absolutely right, and I am looking at their Twitter and the official handles and everything to have any confirmation. Okay, so they do have something at 12:30 EST. They say now is the new launch time there, because at that time, okay, it's 11 p.m. Oh man, I mean, 12:30 EST is 11 p.m., right? Okay, so just a sec, let me just have this thing sorted out here and update my new countdown. So this is the time now, the liftoff time and everything. You can see here we are around T minus 1 minutes and 20 seconds from the liftoff, because right now the SpaceX official handle has confirmed that now targeting 12:30 EST for the launch of SXM-7. Time is optimized for launch and recovery. Weather forecast has improved to 80% favorable. I think that was the issue. The weather was the issue, because earlier it was 60% favorable, and now if they shift the launch time, now it is 80% favorable. Okay, so they are right now targeting just at the last moment of its launch window, if I'm not wrong. Yeah, that's the thing. So what we can do now? I mean, we do have so much of time left before this thing lifts off. Any suggestion, chat? Any suggestion for anything? What we can do here? Maybe I can most probably do a KSP kind of a thing. Or if you have any questions and that I can surely try to answer them. Just any. And yeah, the update about the SN9 is the SN9 has been okay. Let me just have that for you. What is the thing about SN9 here? So that we can a bit discuss about that. Okay. Whoa. Guys, look at this. I mean, wow. Everyday astronaut is always doing something which is incredible. Let me just have that thing for you. Uh, okay. This tool and yeah. So right now the thing which you are seeing here is the SN8 wreckage. This thing is the SN8 wreckage. The test flight of the SN8 landed into RUD, which is a rapid unscheduled disassembly, but they achieved. I won't say it was an unsuccessful mission because they achieved 95% of the mission objectives to a successful ascent, successful maneuvering of the flaps, successful belly flop, successful switch over to the header tank, and then at the last moment they lost the one engine, and then we had the green plume which signifies the engine rich exhaust which is coming out of it. Yeah, it's not fuel rich, it's not oxygen rich, it's engine rich. That's what they say, which means that the engine was eating itself. And why was it happening? Because there was a low pressure at the header tank. Okay, and those header tanks, what I speculate and what I understand, why was there a head low pressure? I mean, there are many reasons for it, but one understandable and one, you can say, imaginable reason for me as a just a space enthusiast is that the SpaceX is using a pressurization technique which is known as, what was that? I just I'm not remembering the terminology, but in that what happens is the fuel itself is used to pressurize the fuel tank. Uh, Unlike in Falcon 9 where we have the helium to pressurize the fuel tanks when it is depleting. So why do we need a pressurization of fuel tanks? Okay, so we need those because when the fuel depletes, the pressure inside the fuel tank decreases. Okay, and when the pressure inside the fuel tank decreases, the turbo pumps uh, are not able to get enough of the fuel because of that, because the pressure has decreased. So with what is that there to push everything to the engine, push the fuel to the engine? So there is nothing, right? So then what happens is, then we have the some pressurization technique which is being used in every rocket fuel tank, which pressurize the fuel tank so that it continues to feed the rocket engine with the fuel at the very last, till the very last drop of the fuel in the fuel tank. Okay, so that's the thing. So in this case, there was a low pressure detected in the header tank, and because of that there was a low pressure, and the fuel was not getting properly fed to the engine, and that's why the engine was started eating up itself, and that's why there was green fume at the landing and error. Yeah, that's pretty much explains it. So this is the thing which you are right now seeing. And we lost. Okay, so we have something. Chidanand says the bro, the first stage contains how much tons of kerosene fuel and liquid oxygen? Well, that's a good question. We don't have a good info about it. I mean, the SpaceX, actually what happens is SpaceX sometimes changes the amount of fuel which it takes, because it depends on what is the criteria or what is the targeted orbit. if it is, and what's the payload mass, and if it feels like we are carrying too much fuel for the same mission, then sometimes they decrease it. So we don't know right now. I may, or maybe I'll check it and tell you in a bit. Okay. uh, what else we have here? Velocity was too much, only that thing was possible. Yes, velocity was too much, and that it pretty much explains it why the velocity was too much, because they lost one engine during its landing. uh, and the other engine was also not performing at full thrust because it was running in rich engine rich exhaust. Okay. So these are some images of the wreckage. I should not say it's a wreckage, but a milestone which they achieve. And yeah, I must say that this is the photo which you are right now seeing, or the more this nose cone of this SN8 will be preserved. Elon Musk has stated that this will be preserved as a milestone of success for SN8. Well, that's a pretty good thing, right? So this is what I was talking about. This everyday astronaut with its such a good camera and everything was able to okay, see this thing, slow mo and 4K and 6K. Wow, see this rud happening. And all shout out gets to the everyday astronaut. To subscribe him, he's a great guy. I mean, look at this footage he was able to capture with its 4K and 6K slow mo camera. See this here. We can see that the header tank around the nose cone actually imploded rather than exploded because of the low pressure. Oh, okay. And what I was talking about, the SN9. Okay, so there are some more images of this thing. Yeah, this was the thing. The SN9, yesterday what happened, the SN9, the stand of the SN9 actually collapsed. Okay, and here we can see it. It just got tipped over to the uh, high bay. I mean, this is the high bay where it houses, or uh, it is there until it comes out. It's like a VAB, but it's a high bay. They have mid bay, they have high bay. In midway the stacking happens, and in highway you can say a complete version of the vehicle is stored. So it was that, and in that we don't right now know what actually happened during it, but speculation says that the stand collapsed and this SN9 just tipped over to the highway. And if this highway wouldn't be there, I mean, this thing would have just fallen all the way to the ground, and our dreams of seeing SN9 fly would have just gone to, you can say, would have just gone. Okay, that's what the thing is. This highway actually supported it and preserved this thing. And what is the scenario right now? This happened yesterday, and now the scenario is that there is something uh, they planned and they got it also. I mean, we don't have it here for some reason. Let me see if we have something by. Okay, so this is the aftermath. Yeah, this is the aftermath of what happened after SN9 got tipped off. So this is, yeah, Elon Musk is a great guy standing beneath his proud rocket, which he should be very proud, and he's looking very proud. I mean, yeah, why not? This is the inner side of the nose cone, and we can see some COPVs here also. Yeah, so this thing here, now it has been erected successfully in its vertical position, and with the tank Z, what they call, yeah, there was some tank Z which was called to erect it properly into its vertical position, and now it is in the vertical position. And the possible damages which we were able to see was I mean, just a sec. So the possible damages which we were able to see was to the flaps. As you can see here, the upper flaps was like shifted, or you can say, obviously it is not looking like a great flap which they will now carry on to the SN9. Obviously, this will be replaced, and we can see here some dent also on this thing. And this flap also got damaged when there was some close-up views. If I can find it, then we will be able to see. This is the thing which was called up to correct its position, and Tankzilla. Yeah, this is what we call as Tankzilla here, and it actually corrected its position. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much about it. I think so. Okay. So if you have any question now, you can surely ask me. And Preet says, don't allocate the budget. It's a private company. Yes, Chidanand, whosoever asked about the budget, I mean, the thing with the budget is Pooja. Okay, the thing with the budget is, uh, their budget increases with their launch activity, when their launch activity increases or when their launch business is in the flow, because this is a business, right? This is like any other private company, Apple, Google. Once its business increases, its budget also increases. So it's not a fixed budget, like it's not a government agency which will get this amount of fixed budget every year and that will be constant. No, it's not like that for a private rocket company. The budget depends totally on its launch activities and everything which it does, and whatever profit it is making. And I really suspect, and I really you can say think of its budgets increasing in the coming time because of the Starlink program which it is doing. I am very impressed with this Starlink program of Elon Musk. I mean, the Starlink program not only will be able to fund itself, the Starlink company as a internet provider, but also will fund SpaceX, because this is a thing which can be used by everyone on the planet. Okay, and not restricted to some satellite makers or some investors or some high class business persons. No, it's not like that, and it can be used by anyone, and the profit generated from it will be like on the you can say level of other telecom providers. Okay, so that profit can be used to invest in this and expand the budget of SpaceX. Also, the with this Starlink program, the SpaceX is testing its Falcon 9 booster capability to its new level. I mean, they can't use the Falcon 9 booster like in ninth time, eighth time, seventh time with another customer satellite, because the customer would not be satisfied with its record, because it would be like first time. But for the Starlink thing, they can use that because it's their own satellite which are being launched, and they can afford to, you can say, lose the payload or the satellite. Also, the launch cost decreases because you're not paying any profit to the company. All the things, the launch is the Starlink launch is not at all profitable. It's just like going to, yeah, the launch is not profitable, but the then you can say the consequence is profitable. The Starlink satellites will generate profit. So yes, that's the thing. Any update when SN9 will fly? Right now, we don't have any update as in when it will fly. But if it wouldn't have tipped over, and it just tipped over, and that's not a very great sign. So if it wouldn't have tipped over, we could have very well expected it to fly uh, in this month only. Yeah. And okay, so let's just analyze some Starlink, not Starlink, the SpaceX SN8 footage. That would be great to see and have, right? Just a sec. SN8. If you have not analyzed, or if you were not there during the launch time, that is a great time to analyze the footage and see what went wrong, and what SpaceX could have improved, and what were the misconceptions that people had during the flight. So it's a good time we can have this time to analyze those things. Okay, let me just have that thing for you. Yeah. So how any update when okay? Thank you, Pooja. Thanks, Preet. That is so much appreciable. Okay, so this is the SN8, which was supposed to which actually flown or fly on when it fly, not a while back. I mean, it fly on December 10. Okay, flown on December 10. And right now, okay, we'll analyze everything bit by bit, and we'll see what went wrong. I mean,
T minus 30.
okay. First of all, let me just mute this thing for some time and just talk you about this thing. Okay, so we will analyze every bit of it, and we'll try to, if you are new here and if you don't know what SN8 is and SN9 is and what Starship is in general, you will be everything will be answered here. And right now, with the thing which you are seeing is the venting. Okay, and this venting is done so as to, you can say, decrease the pressure which is being built up inside the rocket tanks. And that's what I was talking about in the stream also, just before that, Falcon 9 white plume explanation. This is the same thing. The cryogenic liquid boils off and increases the pressure inside the fuel tanks, and that's why this venting occurs. Now they have, I think, secured the fuel tanks. So just before the ignition, you will see one vent will I mean, one vent will like vent heavily, and something will just fly off their vent, and that is totally nominal, and that happens every time when the Starship flies, because uh, the when the pumping turbo pump start, okay, the engines in basically when they start and the turbo pump starts rotating, they that increases the pressure inside the feed lines and the fuel tanks, and that's why that thing happens for just for some times. Okay, so yeah, which you will see it, and this is right now the try vent if it is going. And once it is done, just before the liftoff, you will see
Stage route,
there will
go
be
for flight.
one vent which will like,
T minus 10, 8, 7, 6,
just
5,
see now.
4, 3, 2.
Here. See this thing, this vented so much, and this is bound to happen because then right now the turbo pumps and the engines are starting, and that is increasing the pressure, and that's why this happens. Okay, that's the thing. And now let's just see.
1,
And
0.
successful liftoff. Okay, so initially we thought, okay, first of all, okay, initially we thought, guys, this thing will have a very high thrust to weight ratio. Everyone thought that, but actually what happened was this thing was not filled up, everyone was like, this thing will not be filled up to the brim. Okay, but actually they filled up this thing to the brim. The fuel tanks were filled to the brim, and that's why it is right now launching at such a slow rate, because of that, because of low thrust to weight ratio. And yeah, that's the thing. So this is was such a spectacular launch and a huge milestone which they achieved, the SpaceX achieved, and they literally live streamed it. I mean, hats off to them. We can see it is fueled off, fully fueled, because we can see the frost here, which is being fully full. Also, the header tank, if you see, we can see the frost on the header tank also, because the header tanks are located there, and one is there and one is here. So yeah, everything was proceeding nominally right now. And then what happened was, at some point of time, at t plus 1 minutes and 40 seconds, I think so, was there was some engine shutdown. Right now it is progressing beautifully, and it is right now just going up. No pacing maneuver, nothing, just going up with its three engines. And three engines all lighting up. I think it's full thrust only, because of uh, the thrust to weight ratio it needed to have. Initially it was not planned like that, but then they changed the flight plan and flight path totally. So here we have, this is the thing which you are right now seeing. We have a shutdown of one engine. Okay, so this shutdown was totally intended, and SpaceX team, this shutdown was in the flight plan of the SpaceX, for SpaceX. Yeah, I mean, when I also saw it for the first time, I wasn't expecting that, because it was like a thing which I was not expecting, because no one was expecting this to happen. And when this thing happened, when there was an engine shutdown, everyone thought uh, it was like there has been some problem with the engine, and that's why they're shutting down. No, they intentionally shut it down. And why did they shut down? If you ask me, they shut it down because now the thrust to weight ratio was increasing a bit, because the fuel was decreasing. Obviously the fuel was depleting from the fuel tanks, and hence the thrust to weight ratio was increasing. And to stabilize it back to its what was initially there, I mean, during the liftoff time, they shut down one of this engine, and hence decreasing the thrust to weight ratio. Okay. And why did they do this? You will, if you may ask, uh, to control the starship as much as possible. If you have like a boom, and just going to the sky at a very high speed, then there will be very less control which you can have. And if you are just slowly ascending to the target, then yeah, you will be having a greater amount of control. And that's why I think is the thing. Or maybe they wanted to test any thing with the engine shutdown, if anything that happens, so how will the spacecraft behave. And it behaved beautifully. If we slow down the footage a bit, I mean, you will see like how the engine shut it down. Let me just see it. You guys also see. Okay, so just before the shutdown we can see that these engine went this side. Okay, and then what happened was, uh, these engines, when this thing got shut down, obviously it was not producing any thrust, so the thrust vector of the engines changed. I mean, what is thrust vector? Thrust vector is at which direction, you can say, if in layman terms, if I say in which direction the thrust is being uh, is being transferred towards the rocket. Okay, so if it is like not towards the center of mass, then rocket will not be stable, or you can say it can tip over, or kind of some catastrophes can happen. And when one engine gets shut down, the center of thrust, you can say the thrust vector is not pointing towards the center of mass. And to change that and to correct that thing, the other two engines gimbal, and this is what you are seeing, the other two engines gimbal to change the thrust vector to the center of mass, and hence stabilizing the flight. Okay, it's like compensating for the engine shutdown. Okay, whatever they have, whatever thrust vectoring it was providing, the one engine, now these two engines have now compensated with this gimbal maneuver. Okay, that's the thing. So that was like, it was a very violent, which you can see here, and it is totally nominal to have this violent. This, whenever when this thing got shut down, the second engine quickly took over its place and stabilized the rocket. And the fire after it is like, okay, it's also nominal, because this fire is like totally in place when the engine shut down. When the engine shut down, this is how the engine shut down. There is some residual fuel which comes out of the engine. So yeah, that's totally nominal. Okay. And then after that also, when it was proceeding towards the flight, we you will see it now that just a bit, everything is looking nominal. Till now everything is good, so don't worry about anything. And now you will see here, see this thing is catching fire, and it is also nominal. Then this fire can happen because there could be some gas or fueling gas which can come out of the engine and being trapped here and now catching fire. So it is also totally nominal. But I mean, the SpaceX needs to avoid this thing, because to you can say safeguard all the equipments which it is having here, is all the things which you can see here, the landing gear, the pneumatics, the pump, plumbing, and the electrical wire, everything is being shielded for this event. Okay, everything is insulated and shielded. And but it is like, you can say the Delta 4 Heavy, like in Delta 4 Heavy we have ROFEs to uh, you can say compensate for the excess amount of hydrogen which comes out, and we have a beautiful firewall just before the liftoff. That fireball is also very intended, and it's a very spectacular one. So this thing also, you can say, is intended, but they can reduce the amount of fire by changing some of the factors, like in for the Delta 4 Heavy, what they have done is staggered engine start, which reduces the fireball. Okay, so then this happened. Okay, then the thing proceeded nominally without any problem. And right now you can see the thing is also venting heavily. Okay, the wide venting, this, yeah, this here, this the shot comes confirms it. This is also very nominal, nothing to worry about, because this venting, you can say, uh, is coming out of the fuel tanks, and this happens in the Falcon 9 also. So this is totally nominal, and yeah, nothing to worry about. Then the engine gimbling which you are right now seeing is just correcting the trajectory of the SN8 and avoiding the turbulence which is caused by the air. Okay, so yeah, that's the thing. And this, if you can see here, we have the 42 serial number Raptor engine, which is the most advanced rocket engine which they have, and it actually flew on this vehicle, this SN8 version. I mean, that is so cool. Everything looked nominally till now, and it's T plus 3 minutes now, and everything is going good. There was nothing as such which was experienced. And right now, if you can see the vents, you can see here it is right now just hovering over the place. I mean, it is not going up now. You can see here it. So there we go, the second engine, and same in the same thing happened in intense gimbling, which was to compensate the thrust vector of that engine and compensate and take over the position of that engine. And you can see here, whenever the engine shut down, it just goes away from the gimbling area of the other engines. This also went away sideways. This will also go away sideways, whereas to the other engine can perform its gimbling properly. Went away. And yeah, now this thing is only this is hovering now, and you can say that with this thing, and now it is performing a roll maneuver. You can see the onboard camera view. We saw that is performing the roll, and this is nominal, no, don't worry about it. And this thing, and from the vents which we can see that it is not straight down now, it's like sideways. This is the RCS thrusters preparing itself to, I mean, perform the belly flop. And yeah, and this thing is by far the record for the Raptor to burn in during the flight. I mean, 3 plus 4 minutes and something. This hasn't burned for this much of time, and now just before the belly flop is about to come, and when it will belly flop, I'll explain you some more things. Okay, so here we have, so now the belly flop is about to happen, in which the engine will shut down, as well as the flop will be taken place. So this that flip, you can say, is used to is was part of the trajectory plan, and everything was planned before. And why does it belly flop, if you ask me? Well, it does because it has to do it when it comes from the orbital speed back to the landing zone. I mean, yes, this thing which you are right now seeing is the second stage of the actual Starship rocket, and this will go to its orbit and then re-enter the atmosphere and then land back towards the landing zone. So when it re-enters the atmosphere, it will have the heat shield on this part, on one part of the rocket, and that heat shield will be like faced at 90-degree angles with the atmosphere, to reduce the speed as much as possible. Okay, and because of that, it will like have the angle of attack very low, and it can, that's why this belly flop is useful, because it will happen at that time also. Okay, so if we just slow it down a bit and play it properly, then you will see here that the RCS will be doing the work also. This is the RCS. One RCS will be coming from here, and also the engines will also gimbal so as to provide some gimbaling opportunity and gimbaling thing to gimbal and move this for a belly flop or belly flip, I should say. Just a sec. Should happen now. It should happen now. Just a sec. And now engine shut down, and before shutting down it just got some torque there to flip it, and now the RCS have taken over the control. So before flipping it, you can say this thing, see this thing just was not extended. This is the below fin, and this is the fin which is above the Starship. Okay, and the above one is extended to provide the control, but below one is not extended, and that is to be done, that is not to be extended, because otherwise it will provide the counter torque for the rocket when it is flipping. I mean, and it will not be able to flip properly if it is expanded and extended. Yeah, so now it is flipping. Everything was good, and the venting you are seeing is also nominal. No, don't worry about it. RCS thrusters providing the flip force, and now once it flips properly, then you will be able to see. Let me just increase the speed a bit. You'll be able to see that the below fins will also extend and try to maneuver the spacecraft. Now it is flipped almost, and now it will be extended once it is properly there. Here we go, extended, and trying to maneuver the spacecraft. And this thing was totally like so stable, and so, I mean, everything was so stable, like it is now right now just falling towards the earth with this configuration and this orientation. And we can see that it is has a the nose is dipping right now, but that could also be a flight path. I mean, when it was hovering, it was going away from the landing zone, and now it is aiming towards the landing zone, and it does not have that much altitude and speed. That's why the angle of attack is a little bit down so as to aim for that landing zone. Okay, literally it was like this thing. And if nothing happened during the landing time, it would have just smashed down towards the earth in this configuration. It would like, wow. And we couldn't have get a better view of this thing. Okay, so now the ignition of the engine should be starting sometime. Not have much time left. We can see the flaps having a precise control over this thing to keep it stable. See, this is so stable right now. And just an interesting fact, the motors for controlling these flaps was, if you ask me what were those motors, well, those motors were from a Tesla car. Yeah, Tesla is also headed by space Elon Musk, right? So they can afford to have those motors inside the rocket. Now aerodynamic effects, and not, these are not aerodynamic effects, these are venting which is occurring now. Okay, now the engine will start, and if you will see properly, then the first engine will start, and then the second engine will start, so as to land this thing properly. And it needed two engines, actually it needed two engines for this thing to land at the landing zone. But maybe in future what will happen, like with just one engine running, it can also land. I mean, they can optimize those things like that, because if something happens to the engines which are already there, I mean the two engines or three engines, I mean, right now what they're planning is with two engines landing. In future, most optimized way would be like to land with three engines, and all the three engines throttle down to have a proper thrust to weight ratio. Okay, and then if any of those engine goes off during the landing process, then the other two engines can gimbal first of all, and increase its thrust so as to provide and compensate for that engine shutdown. And if the second engine also shut down, then the first engine can come to its full power and land the rocket properly. So that would be the optimized plan for SpaceX. But right now you will see that here the SpaceX didn't do that, but only two engines was the plan. First engine start, and then the second engine start. We can see this thing. It didn't start at the very first time only, and now it is like you can see this thing like the engines right now is gimbling at a very high rate, and the gimbling angle was supposed to be like 15 degrees, and now once it is like stable in configuration, then these will revert back to its original position so as to provide a proper orientation. Now the things started when going wrong. Here we can see here that this Raptor engine started producing green flame, and whenever this does not have tab, which Falcon 9 has to ignite its engine. Falcon 9 has this tab triethylene. I don't know the full form, but I don't remember right now. But it has tab which has green flame, and whenever the Falcon 9 engine starts, it produces the green flame because that's a igniter of the engine. But for the Raptor engine, it does not have that. For the ignition purpose, it uses kind of like a spark plug which it has for the ignition, and that's why this thing which you are right now seeing, the green plume, simply means that it was, you can say, running engine rich. And copper has that plume green flame, so you can say that copper was burning. And now the engine got shut down. One engine got shut down because it was it and this thing was not intended, and this engine shutdown means that it was not getting proper fuel, and that's why it got shut down. And then quickly, that was not the problem, and then quickly this thing adjusted for its engine shutdown. But the problem was it was not getting proper amount of thrust, and because it was running engine rich and not fuel rich. So yes, and then boom, one of the COPVs went there, and boom, thud. And everyone was so happy. I was also so happy seeing this boom. I mean, nobody would be so happy for seeing a boom like that, but this was, everyone was so happy because other things went so successfully and were so successful, like this thing they can afford. And yeah, I mean, Elon Musk said they had only 33% chance of having all the mission objectives, and they had like 95% of the mission objectives, which was taken care of. So I mean, okay, so now we can have a look at it at a real time. What happened at the real time? That would be so cool to watch. Was slowed down, and now see what happened during the real time. Boom. Uh, Arin Shah, if you have just joined in, let me just tell you that I was telling about the engine plume. Why was it green? I wasn't telling that it was a problem with the engine. I've already told everyone, they have been so long for this, that there was a problem with the header tank. There was a low pressure at the header tank. Let me just clear that up. And the thing which I was right now saying was the explanation of why was there a green plume was like eating its own engine. I never said there was a problem with the engine. Okay, so let me be clear with that. And I already said that this green engine was because of the low pressure during the header tank, in the header tank. Yes, Lord, you can say that the copper thing was started melted. That's why there was this thing. Yes, yes, engine combustion, and that was the thing. So yeah, that was pretty much about it. And this star hopper which you can see here, I mean, this was a kid, and was the first thing which actually which actually flew with the Raptor engine, and it is still standing there and was watching this thing. And he must be also very happy to see this thing. I mean, sad also, but mostly happy because it achieved most of the mission objectives. And now the thing was with the SN9. We can see this all day and we won't be like bored of it. And it actually landed wherever, at the pinpoint location. Actually, that the landing was so successful, I must say that it actually aimed for that landing zone and it pinpointed that thing, so it was a total success. Wow. Okay, so that is the thing. And other footage which they released was this one. That was also pretty epic. Let me just have that thing for you. Do we have any other notification? Just a sec. Before that, I mean, no, nothing. Yeah, this was the epic footage which they released afterwards, and this was the landing zone cam, and this took this Starship landing footage with so much spectacular views. Lord says Raptor is the third full flow stage closed cycle engine. The other closed cycle didn't even make to the test facility. Yep. I mean, this Raptor is the full flow stage combustion cycle. It runs on full flow stage combustion cycle, and this Raptor is, you can say, I believe, and most of the people believe that this Raptor is the king of all rocket engine. First of all, it is like most efficient rocket engine ever made, you can say, because it runs on around uh, right now it runs on around 95 to 92 to 95% efficiency. And Elon Musk says that after further improvement and optimization, it can achieve 98 to 99% efficiency for a rocket engine. Wow. Traditional rocket engines, the other rocket engines has runs on gas generator power cycle, and the Merlin engine also, which runs on gas generator cycle, just dumps off some of the fuels to rotate the turbines, and which rotates the turbopumps. Because though that fuel just gets dumped off and does not produce enough thrust. So you can say that, I mean, yes, there is a obviously a dip in the efficiency of the engine. So guys, if you are new to this channel, I host live streams of every rocket launch that happens in the space industry, as well as other space events. The next space event is coming up. That is the lunar sample return mission of China, which will be like entering the Earth's atmosphere in 16th of December. I'll be live streaming that. So on this channel, we host live streams of rocket launches, space events, and other space related activities, as well as we have other rocket science related videos too. So if you are that type of guy, you can totally subscribe to our channel for a one-stop solution for everything related to space science and rocket science. And if you want to support the channel, you can always become a Patreon. Link is down in the description. Or if you want to give a one-time funding, super chat is enabled. You can go ahead with that. Hi, Kev Parmar, and Namaste. So we are right now T minus 35 minutes, and if you want anything else from me, you can ask me, and I'll try to answer your questions. Right now, so we initially planned like we will be having a good amount of time. We won't be having a good amount of time because this thing was about to start, but then they'll just change their launch time. That's enough, Angel says. What about SN9? So, about SN9 also, I have previously said that SN9 will be is right now on high bay only and has not been pulled out of it, but is in the preparation of being pulled out of it. And after proper testing, there will be multiple and lot of static fires that will happen with SN9. And the amount of data they have gathered with this thing right now with the SN8 flight will obviously will try to improve the SN9. And the thing, the 95% of the mission objectives SN8 achieved. I mean, whenever SN9 flies, um, my you can say probability will be like 95% of success. Elon Musk said it would have been 33% chance of success right now in on for SN8, but for SN9 he didn't say anything, but I will say like it will be 95% successful. And yeah, because whatever they have learned, they will try to implement it. And the only problem with everything was during the landing time. And I don't think so. That will be the problem with the other flight, the SN9. And the SN9 right now, but is facing some problems. There is some damage to the flaps. There is a dent onto the nose cone. Uh, but but nose cone is like not a thing to be worried about. Only thing is dent on the nose cone is totally like fine if there is not a problem with the welding. But the problem with the flaps, they that is totally damaged. The first flap, the upper flap of that is damaged. The below, the beneath flap is also like a little bit damaged. And that could take some time to repair. But initially it was like we could have expected that thing to fly in this month only, but now because of those things, yeah, there could be some delay. SN9's stand collapsed. You can say that SN9 is scared. Yes, after seeing the fate of what happened to SN8, you can say that it is scared. But he should have trust on his boss, Elon Musk, and he should be like have full trust and full belief and full faith on him, because he's the person who can actually make that SN9 flight successful. Yes, and the space explorer says and tried to go outside of home like a baby, and then it was like a mom saying, "No, you won't go there." Okay, exactly. So, what else can we do now? I mean, we have still have 15 minutes until this coverage starts. I mean, we can totally go on with the KSP, but that will also take some time. If you okay, so let's just explore their website only. This was the thing which they took just before the lift of this photo with the which SpaceX took. I mean, wow. SpaceX photographers, wow. I mean, there were so many photographers there capturing this event, but the SpaceX photographers, obviously they had advantage. They, first of all, they were representing SpaceX. And the other thing is like, yeah, obviously they were like having the cameras just ahead of this thing. And yeah, but then also they were able to capture this beautiful image. Hats off to them. So this was what I was talking about. This thing which actually flew was this the upper stage only, just the upper stage. And we have this as a super heavy. This is what we call super heavy. This is Starship, and whole thing is also known as Starship. Super heavy, I don't think so will be a big problem with them. I mean, only problem which can arise would be like fueling and the number of engines it is having. But I don't think so. Much of the problem will be there with the super heavy, because it works like Falcon 9 first stage. Yeah. And yeah, there is one uh, footage of Starship actually. I mean, what it is, how it will be done and everything. uh, the Raptor engine, most advanced one. Okay, let me have that thing for you. Just a bit, just a sec, guys. Lord Voice says, I watched La Padre short while. shot while landing. While the two engines were landing, it seemed like instead of landing, it would fly up. Can you please watch the landing shot? I mean, okay, I will watch it, but I didn't understand what you said. You thought like seeing that you it was we had feeling that it would just fly up, right? Okay, you can always see that. No problem with that. Just a sec. I'll have that thing. I mean, I don't know whether I'm supposed to see that thing because copyright could happen, but we can always see just the landing footage. Uh, and here we have the footage. Okay. Just mute it and everyone actually captured this event with such a grace and such so much info. So first of all, shout out to Lab Padre for having this thing here to us to witness it with such a perfection and the slow mo also. So yeah, shout out to him. So let's just play it first of all in the real time and then slow mo. So here it goes and boom. Wow. I mean, wow. See this thing? This actually captured something else, and this was the COPV, which actually flown away and then landed. What are COPVs? These are the pressurized section on the Starship, and those pressurized section contain the cold gas thruster, that is cold nitrogen gas. The slow mo of what? Liftoff, right? The slow mo of liftoff. Okay. This is the thermal camera view of what happened. Oh, and boom. Padre is doing such a great job in filming everything, but I couldn't see it fly back again. And boom, just see that. Just see that thing. Just see that thing. Just see that thing. Just see that. And yes, the I didn't see this thing. I mean, yeah, this is the COPV, so I didn't see this thing uh, went haywire, or you can say fly up again. So that must have cleared the confusion. What else do we have? Uh, what was I supposed? Yeah, Starship animation. This one. Okay, let me answer your questions first, and then I'll proceed further. Okay, so then, yeah, the Pooja, SpaceX plan about the moon is the lunar starship, which is the part of the Artemis program of NASA, in which they are sending humans back again to the moon. And in that, the lunar version of the starship uh, will take place and will be a part of the plan. And in that, it will work as a human landing system. Would Super Heavy have a hop or test flight? I don't really think, cause that thing is super. Well, that's a good pun, but yes, it will be having a static fire and hopefully one like hop or something like that. We can expect that thing. We can very well expect that thing. Yes, Parma. Okay, Parma. That was what I was about to say. The grasshopper did the same thing, and I mean, yeah, I will get the copyright, but I'll give the credits in the description. And shout out to always with them. Let's see. Okay, so then what else do we have? Don't think so. The thing, yeah, the animation. Obviously, the animation. See what actually is supposed to happen with Starship when it is fully made and fully developed. There are 36, no, 36, 28 raptor engines in the Super Heavy, which will boost this thing to space. Once it is on the space, in the space, then obviously it will perform what the Falcon 9 booster does. Same thing, but here, okay, we will have a boost back burn. It won't be like landing on the drone ship. It will be landing onto the landing zone, which is near the launch pad. See this thing. Will perform boost back burn and everything, and will not be landing onto a drone ship or something like that. And then the second stage will proceed towards the orbit. Will be there, and then what will happen is, here we go. You see this? We have two starships being coming close together. The second starship is also launched from the launch pad, obviously, and that starship uh, could be very well launched from the Super Heavy which just arrived. Yes, that's the capability and reusability they are aiming for. Super Heavy which just arrived, they can just put it onto the launch pad, refuel it, and boom, you can just go into the space with it, and it can launch the second starship. And why do we need this second starship? This second starship will dock with this thing and will then perform what we call as orbital refueling, which will refuel the first starship and will enhance its delta V and the payload capacity to the other orbits. So okay, so for that only you can see it will be like docked with the like from below and beneath, both of them, and that's the reason why you don't see the umbilicals or pipes going on into the starship from the sideways, or like in the other rockets like in Falcon 9. We have the pipes or those things which comes there and go get attached to the fairing and those uh, fuels lines. But for here, what will happen is the fueling is done through the launch pad. Yes, when the SN8 was there on the launch pad, on the launch mount, or you can say that that launch mount was providing with fuel upwards towards the fuel tank, because they want to do orbital refueling like this. The fuel will be flowing from beneath there. I mean, yeah, why not? So this starship which actually arrived will carry only fuel as its payload, and the primary one obviously has a payload which it has. Going to whatever destination it wants to, interplanetary or whatever. Okay, they didn't have that thing, the landing sequence and everything. Okay, no problem. I thought there would be like landing sequence and how uh, shields will work, the heat shields will work, but no. Any update? Oh, still aiming for that. Okay. We are right now T minus 90 minutes. So in 4 minutes or so, we will be able to see the actual coverage. And if you like what I do, guys, you can please, please, please do the give this stream a like and support the channel by becoming a Patreon. It does help And if you can always have super chat, so that's enabled. And yeah, that really helps the channel. So hi, Amar Amar, I don't how to spell the name, but yeah, Blue Origin and Dynetics have better lander, I guess. I mean, they are first of all, the Blue Origin is like amalgam of many companies for the human landing system. That's what they call a national team. Okay, but for the Starship, it's like all alone. And the Dynetics also has its investment from ULA, so it's also like an amalgam. But Starship is not. It is doing whatever it is on its own. So, and had the highest payload capacity, and reusability is also like to its peak, because it won't be like uh, having any stages which will be like ditched away and won't be reused. Because in Dynetics, human lander, they will be ditching away the fuel tanks, okay, and they won't be using it. And for the Blue Origin, the Blue Origin is totally different. They have an ascent stage and a descent stage. So descent stage will be landing, and then it will be separated from the ascent stage, like what happened in Apollo. So the I think the descent stage won't be reused, or ascent stage. I don't remember, but one of them won't be reused. Yeah. Venting. Okay. Angel says it's venting. That means it is being it's being full. The Falcon 9 is being fueled up. I think so. That's what he want to say, right, Angel? Yes, it is reusable. I'm not saying the Dynetics that thing is not reusable. Only thing is they will be ditching away some fuel tanks, okay? And those fuel tanks won't be reusable. Would be like it would won't be like 100% reusable. Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Okay, so it is venting. Yes, I mean that means it is being fueled up, and we are right now go for the launch director has already given the go for propellant loading, and we have the stream. Let me switch over to that. Here, here we go. Okay. How much Falcon SpaceX have? I mean, they do have a good amount of them. They make them regularly, reuse them regularly, but how much they have and how much they have lost, I don't have a proper number on that. Okay, so no, I need to change this thing, right? Happened last time. So yeah, T minus 16 minutes and counting from the launch to happen. And yeah, how many times one booster can be used for a Falcon 9? It can. Elon Musk firstly said that it can be used till 10 times, but after assessing the damage till 7th flight, because till 7 times they have reused the booster, and after assessing the damage and everything, he claims that there was little to no damage to the engines and to the Falcon 9 booster, so it can technically be reused 30 times. He tweeted sometime. Yeah, I remember that thing. No, it's not. I've changed that. It was like for the previous launch, because that happened at that time. So yeah. Yes, Lord, Raptor engines like, I mean, Raptor engine has crossed everything, every limits which engine can have, and this thing, the Starship launch itself will be after everything is done properly and optimized properly. Elon Musk claims that the Starship launch will cost less than $1 million launch. I mean, wow. just a less than $1 million launch. And why does he claim that? Because the thing which will be like used will be only the fueling and just little to no refurbishment and maintenance. That will be the cost. That's it. And that will mean that Starship is the future of space exploration. Yes, Parmar, that's insane.
LWO1 WeatherNet, liftoff conditions looking pretty good.
They have a good intro, very cool intro. I mean, yeah.
Liftoff.
Falcon 9 has cleared the tower.
The Falcon 9 uses RP1 and LOX as its propellant. RP1 is rocket grain kerosene. And that's why it has soot problem, and that's why the reusability and refurbishment takes time and effort.
2, 1.
This thing is so cool. Here we are.
Good afternoon. It's Sunday, December 13th, and on your screen is a live view of the Falcon 9 awaiting its 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time launch from Cape Canaveral Space Force Station in Florida. My name is Kate Tice, and I'm a senior certification engineer here
Okay,
at
you asked about Raptor engine. Okay, Raptor engine uses Methalox. I thought about you are talking about the Falcon 9
launch
engine.
of
Yeah.
Sirius XM's
Raptor engine use Methalox, methane and liquid oxygen.
tuned into our webcast earlier in the week. Today marks our second attempt to launch the SXM-7 satellite. During our previous attempt, a hold was called due to a potential issue on the ground system side. The vehicle and payload remain healthy, and the Falcon 9 team has completed a thorough review, and we are go for today's launch.
Yeah.
Now, if you're tuning in for the first time, you may know Sirius XM for its ad-free, curated music channels, or for its use of satellites to provide users with digital audio radio services. Today, to replace existing satellite services, SpaceX will launch the company's next-generation high-power broadcasting satellite, SXM-7. Following today's launch, the SXM-7 payload will join 5 other satellites in Sirius XM's active satellite fleet. After joining the fleet, there's an expectation that the payload will replace the XM-3 satellite to help ensure continuous and reliable delivery of Sirius XM's audio entertainment and data services to consumers in the United States. This effort will also help Sirius XM expand services to consumers in Canada and the Caribbean. Today's launch marks the 25th SpaceX mission of 2020 and the 7th flight for this particular booster, which is always exciting. Let's take a closer look at the vehicle for today's mission.
Exactly. Weather is
There
looking
on,
so cool.
there on your screen, you see our Falcon 9 rocket on the launch pad located in Cape Canaveral, cycling through its launch day processes in preparation for its 12:30 p.m. Eastern liftoff. Falcon 9 is a 2-stage liquid-fueled launch vehicle and stands about 229 feet or 70 meters tall, which is equivalent of about 12 giraffes stacked on top of each other. The bottom 2/3 of the vehicle is what we call the first stage. As I mentioned earlier, it will be taking flight for the 7th time today. The first stage is responsible for accelerating the vehicle all the way to the edge of space, after which it will separate from the second stage, carrying the SXM-7 payload. Once separation is complete, we'll attempt to recover the first stage on our drone ship, which you see right there on your screen. Just read the instructions. It's currently holding position in the Atlantic Ocean a couple hundred miles off the coast of Florida. If we stick the landing today, it will mark our 69th successful booster recovery. After the first and second stage separate, the second stage will ignite its single Merlin vacuum engine, or MVAC engine, to carry the SXM-7 satellite to a highly elliptical orbit. Separation from second stage will occur about 4,000 kilometers above Earth, and then the satellite will perform burns using its own onboard thruster to raise its position to enter a circular medium Earth orbit, or MEO, and reach an apogee of about 20,200 kilometers above Earth. If you look at the top of the Falcon 9 rocket there, you see a nose cone-shaped object. That's the payload fairing. Housed inside is the SXM-7 satellite. The fairing measures 17 feet, or about 5 meters in diameter, and 43 feet, or about 13 meters tall. The payload fairing protects the satellite from aerodynamic heating, loads, and contamination during ascent. Once we get through the Earth's atmosphere and reach the vacuum of space, the payload will no longer need that protection. We'll jettison the fairing halves so we don't have to carry around that extra weight, and the second stage will continue with the satellite to its targeted drop-off orbit. One fairing half used during today's mission is taking its first flight, while the other is being flown for the second time. That particular half previously supported the Anasis 2 mission back in July of this year. Due to upgrades on our recovery vessel, Ms. Chief, we'll instead retrieve one of the fairing halves with our recovery vessel, Go Searcher, and attempt to catch the other using our recovery vessel, Ms. Tree. The large gray structure that you see there next to Falcon 9 is the Transporter Erector, or TE. The TE is used to roll out the Falcon 9 from the hangar to the launch pad and raise it to its vertical launch position. The TE also routes power, fluids, and communication to both the rocket and satellite. Our countdown continues to progress smoothly toward our 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, so let's take a closer look at today's payload. Weighing in at almost 7,000 kilograms and over 100 feet long when its solar arrays are deployed, the 27-foot tall SXM-7, built on Maxar's 1300 class platform, is designed to provide service for more than 15 years. This satellite's unique design also features a large unfurlable S-band reflector to broadcast audio and data signals to users on the ground. By joining Sirius XM's already active fleet, the SXM-7 will deliver the highest power density of any commercial satellite on orbit. This new satellite will send more than 8,000 watts of content to the continental United States, Canada, Puerto Rico, and the Caribbean, which in turn provides users with a better signal quality and broader reach. Now, as the clock countdown continues for our on-time liftoff of 12:30 p.m. Eastern, let's take a moment to learn a little bit more about the SXM-7.
Okay, so I can't play this thing right now here, but yes, we have this thing which you just saw. So this is how it will look like once it is deployed. I mean, this satellite is itself very unique. I mean, the solar panels, the antenna, as well as you will see how the antenna just unfolds, the radial and rib antenna, if I'm not wrong, that's what it is having. See this thing. Wow. And yeah, what are these vapors coming from fairing? It's not coming from the fairing, Preet, it's like coming from the second stage fueling, and that's totally nominal because those are the gas which comes out of the bleed valves because there is an excess pressure of the liquid oxygen there, and those liquid oxygen, you can say, obviously increases the pressure, and those bleeding valves then bleeds off excess gas, and that's what you see there. And just before liftoff also at T-1 minutes or so, you will see heavy venting which will happen, and that is also nominal because it clears up the fuel supply vents and pipes, so that's why heavy venting happens.
Be okay to proceed into propellant load and launch. To keep the propellant
and
on both
Aditya,
stages
I
of the
just
vehicle
updated the
cooled as much
Patreon
as
link, so
possible
you
close to
can
launch,
refresh
the
and
team
check
at
that
Cape
out.
Canaveral began that propellant load at T-35 minutes. Since the second stage Merlin engine is very similar to the first stage engines, both first and second stage engines get to use the same propellant. Our fuel is a refined form of kerosene known as Rocket Propellant 1, or RP1, and our oxidizer is super chilled liquid oxygen, LOX. We chill the liquid oxygen to be as cold as we can get it, which allows us to load more LOX and makes it super dense with oxygen molecules. Both of these things give us better performance with the Merlin engines.
Exactly.
This also helps us to avoid the need to continue topping LOX up. This also helps us to avoid needing to top off that liquid oxygen to make up for losses due to boiling. At this point in time, both the first and second stages are fully loaded with RP1. The first stage will be complete. Actually, it looks like we're approaching completion of load of LOX on first stage, and also at this time, liquid oxygen loading is continuing on second stage. The pre-valves between the first stage engines and the propellant tanks are open. At T-minus 7 minutes, we performed what is called engine chill. This is where we cool the turbo pumps in order to avoid thermal shocks when we start those turbo pumps up at T-minus 2 seconds in order to light the Merlin engines. At this point, we're also loading helium into storage vessels on the first and second stages. And you can see on your screen there, the cradle around the fairing has just moved a little bit, retracting and making way for launch. During flight, as I mentioned, we're loading helium into the first and second stages. During flight, we'll pass that cold helium through the heat exchangers on the Merlin engines. The heat of the gas generator exhaust turns that cold helium into hot helium, therefore expanding it. And that expanded helium gas is then used to fill the empty volume in the propellant tanks caused by the engine pumps pulling the propellant out of the stages. And it looks like we had a little bit of retraction there of the strong back. That is essentially just moving back a little bit, about 2 degrees into the pre-launch position, 2 degrees away from the rocket. At liftoff, hydraulics will move that TE into a position 45 degrees away from the rocket.
Pasi, if I'm not correctly pronounce your name, I mean there was the reason for the hold has not been released by SpaceX, but they did release that there was some issue with the ground supporting equipments, and that's why they did a hold. But right now, obviously, if they are proceeding it towards the countdown, that means they have resolved the issue.
Stage propellant loading is complete for LOX and fuel. The second stage fuel loading is complete, and the LOX loading will complete at T-minus 2 minutes. 1 minute before liftoff, you'll hear the announcement that Falcon 9 is in startup. This announcement means that the rocket's own internal computers are now controlling the launch countdown on Falcon 9. Once the engines are confirmed to be at full power, the flight computer on the second stage will command the ground hold downs to release the rocket right at T0. The satellite team continues to monitor the status and health of the SXM-7 located inside the fairing on top of the second stage. All systems continue to be go on the satellite.
Let's hope we get
as of right now, as we just passed through the T-minus 2 minute mark, where everything appears to be on track for an on-time launch today. The range status is green. And of course, we've been monitoring the weather. Today's primary concern was the cumulus cloud rule, but as we can see there from our shot of the pad on your screen, beautiful blue skies there in Florida. Conditions are looking favorable at both the launch site and recovery zone. Exactly. If for some reason we have to call a hold on today's launch, we have a backup opportunity tomorrow with a liftoff time scheduled about the same time. But for now, all systems continue to be go for a liftoff at 12:30 p.m. Eastern.
And guys, I mean, we are right now T-minus 1 minute and 10 minutes, 1 minute and 10 seconds counting, and right now you can see that it is being like venting very heavily right now because it is clearing up all the pipes. The vehicle is in startup.
So there we heard the call out. F9 is in startup.
It is happening.
Meaning that the flight computers have taken control of the launch countdown for Falcon 9. And first and second stages are beginning to pressurize for launch. The white clouds that you see there is just
go for launch.
And
there we heard the final call. LD is go for launch.
Yes. We are go for launch, and let's hope this thing actually flies and we can.
Everything looking good for an on-time liftoff today. Let's listen in on the final seconds of the countdown.
T-minus 17, 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9,
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Ignition. And liftoff of the Falcon 9 rocket to the geostationary transfer orbit carrying the Sirius SXM-7 Satellite. Wow!
Stage 1 propulsion nominal.
Stage 1 is nominal.
Vehicle's pitching downrange.
Vehicle has been starting pitching now. And wow, such a beautiful, spectacular launch.
We're now 30 seconds into flight, and Falcon 9 is preparing to pass through max Q, which will happen at T plus 1 minute and 12 seconds. For those of you that might be unfamiliar with this term, max Q is when the vehicle will experience the greatest amount of dynamic pressure. Call out there that everything is looking nominal for first stage. To prepare for max Q, we throttle the engines down and then back up about 20 seconds later. And this helps ensure that we keep those dynamic pressures below a certain level.
Falcon 9 is supersonic.
And at max.
So there we heard the call out that the vehicle is now going faster than the speed of sound.
Yeah. And max Q just means that what she explained was fully correct. And that happens at one point in the
stage. The vehicle
is
experiencing maximum dynamic pressure.
Because
So there we heard the call out that the vehicle is passing through max Q.
Begins to
Again, that's the moment in which the vehicle experiences the greatest amount of dynamic pressure, greatest amount that it'll see throughout flight. Now in just a few seconds, we'll hear the call out that MVAC chill has begun. Just like we did on the M1D engines for first stage, we open the pre-valves between the propellant tanks and the turbopumps, allow some of that super chilled liquid oxygen to cool down the turbopump hardware. There we go. So MVAC chill has begun. So that super chilled liquid oxygen is flowing through the turbopumps, allowing them to cool off prior to full flow of propellant.
No.
Everything is looking good with stage 1 trajectory.
That's not the same thing. Max Q is the maximum aerodynamic pressure it takes, and Mach 1
Coming up,
is
we're going to have
the
3
speed
events
of sound.
happening in quick succession. We're going to have main engine cutoff, followed by stage separation and SES1, or second engine start 1.
I don't know. So this onboard camera is also about to happen now.
Main engine cutoff coming up in 3 seconds.
The switch to that thing, which is about to happen once we have engine cutoff. And now.
And
Miko. And
stage separation
confirmed. And
all right, there on your screen we have confirmation of stage separation as well as MVAC ignition.
MVAC ignition also confirmed. Wow.
Great view there of planet Earth rotating behind the first stage, which is on the left-hand side of your screen, and the second stage on the right-hand side. So on the left-hand side, we can see those grid fins beginning to deploy
and now
into the landing position.
SpaceX landing their first stage booster, which is always a delight to watch.
For a precise landing on our drone ship, which, like I mentioned earlier, is positioned a couple hundred miles.
Nominal trajectory.
Nominal trajectory there for
looking good.
Falcon 9. As I said, those grid fins will be utilized to help guide and steer the booster back to the drone ship.
Bearing separation confirmed.
And
confirmation that the, there you saw it on your screen, the 2 fairing halves have separated, exposing the SXM-7 Satellite.
There you go. The fairings halves you can see on the screen now. And exposing the satellite.
If you look closely, you can actually see the fairing disappearing from view in the background there.
And right now the Falcon
currently at T plus 4 minutes and 3 seconds into flight. And we're performing the first of 2 planned MVAC burns. At stage separation, the first stage's velocity is about 2,200 meters per second, or 5,000 meters per hour. Pretty fast. Once the first and second stages separate, that first stage is actually still moving at such a high velocity that it continues to raise its altitude as it coasts for a couple of minutes prior to starting its downward return back to Earth.
Acquisition of signal, Bermuda.
The next major milestone that we'll be able to see will be that first stage entry burn.
So
for the entry burn, we relight the center engine, which we call E9, and then partway through the transition back through the Earth's atmosphere, we relight 2 more Merlin M1D engines, E1 and E5, to give us a total of 3 M1Ds, helping to slow the vehicle down as it passes back into the Earth's atmosphere.
Exactly.
We're expecting that entry burn to begin in about 1 minute.
So So yes, so there was some issue with their website then. I mean, I was also wondering why do we
Trajectory
need a boost
continues to
back
look good there on second stage, carrying the SXM-7 Satellite for Sirius XM.
Vehicle is on a nominal trajectory.
The Falcon 9 is right now facing retrograde position and preparing itself to start the entry burn, which will slow the vehicle down to help
Gorgeous
it re-enter
views
the
of
atmosphere.
first stage as it has now reoriented itself, coasting through apogee and now returning back down. As I mentioned, we will be performing 2 maneuvers for that landing. First entry burn coming up in about 10 seconds, followed of course by the landing burn on the drone ship.
Stage 1 FTS is saved.
And it is happening.
First stage is currently about 50 miles above the Earth's surface.
Let's hope we get a good view.
Stage 1 entry burn has started.
And here we go.
There we can see that the entry burn has begun on the left-hand side of your screen for that first stage re-entry. Again, we start by igniting the center engine first, and then reignite 2 more engines to give us a total of 3 engines, allowing us to slow the vehicle down as it re-enters the Earth's atmosphere.
Entry burn shut down.
And shutdown of those 3 engines for entry burn.
And now let's hope we don't get a cut from the view that happens.
Trajectory continues to look nominal there for second stage on the right-hand side of your screen.
Yeah, it is happening and it will happen.
I love that view of the MVAC nozzle glowing orange with Earth behind it. Next up, we have a couple of major milestones happening back to back. The start of the landing burn followed immediately by SECO 1, or second engine cutoff 1, on the second stage. SECO is where we shut down that MVAC engine to allow the second stage to coast for a little bit. This event preserves the fuel until we need it for the final burn to take us to our targeted orbit for the SXM-7 satellite. And then about 25 seconds after SECO 1, we'll hopefully have a live view of the first stage touching down.
Stage 2 is in terminal guidance.
Touching down on our drone ship, just read the instructions. So we're expecting the landing burn to begin in about 10 seconds and SECO to begin in about 15 seconds.
And now the most treat for the eyes
Stage
is
2
coming up.
FTS is saved.
Just watch out for that now. We'll switch over to the drone ship cam now at any moment, and we'll see the sky is lit up. Stage 1 landing burn has started, I guess.
Everything continued to looking nominal.
Go ahead,
And there we heard the
Kurt.
call out of SECO.
The landing burn
And
started.
tuning in for that
and,
landing on the left-hand side.
uh,
Hopefully we stick it. Looks like we lost the feed there. We'll try to bring that back to you whenever we have the opportunity. But we did hear the call out that we have good orbit for the second stage.
man.
So nominal orbital insertion.
That is a bit weird. I mean, they usually get the confirmation of landing.
Stage 1 is landed. Landing operators proceed into 11.100 on recovery 1.
We did hear the call out there that the first stage has landed. Unfortunately, we weren't able to bring the video of that as it was over the horizon. And there's that view. Once again, this is the 7th flight and therefore the 7th landing of this particular booster, also marking the 69th successful recovery of a Falcon 9 first stage. The second stage vehicle has just entered its first coast phase, which will last about 18 minutes, and we'll light that MVAC engine for a second time shortly thereafter at T plus 26 minutes and 3 seconds. We're going to take a break here, and as always, if you're interested in keeping an eye on that second stage throughout its coast phase, we'll leave you with an animation. See you back here at T plus 25 minutes.
See the beautiful satellite in here. When usually sometimes when for the Starlink mission we does see the RCS thrusters performing a great job, and we sometimes see those eyes also on those RCS thrusters, and that is a very good thing to watch. So eventually there was a drama there, I should say that, for a landing, but SpaceX as usual, they stick to the landing and was successful. The only thing was the feed we missed. Otherwise, stage 1 has landed. And right now we are just waiting for this coast phase to be completed, and then the second engine start will be occurring at the SES-2, which means the apogee will be raising towards the geotransfer orbit. Yep, Lord, thanks for that. And right now the mission has not been completed because the deployment is still left, and the SECO-2 is also left. SES-2 followed by the SECO-2, which is used to raise the apogee of this thing for the geotransfer orbit. And so guys, if you have any questions or so, you can totally and perfectly ask me. For sure I'll try to answer them. If I have the answers to that, I'll surely answer that, so you can ask me. How much height will be when the satellite will separate? Height, I mean, you mean to say altitude?
Expected loss of signal, Bermuda.
Okay, so they said the expected loss of signal is theirs. Yeah, it's the expected. Okay, so how much will be the altitude? Well, watch out for it. You have the counter at there, 167. It will be like in this range only, but the thing is, the apogee for the orbit, I mean the highest point on the orbit, will be raised. Okay, so it's like when you burn in for this is how orbital mechanics work. If you burn at one point, right, then the point which is just opposite to that is raised. I mean, if you burn the prograde position, which is facing towards the velocity vector, okay, then if you burn in that thing, then the apogee or the point which is opposite to the point where you are burning will expand and will extend. Yeah, that's how it works. So in this case also, when the engine will start, it will raise the point opposite to where it is burning to around 4,000 kilometers. That's what they said. But the satellite deployment will be like happening at that much altitude only, around 200, 160 to 200, because it won't be like it will be separating at apogee. No, it will separate right here only. Yes, are in the Space Explorer, I know. Thanks, Chidanand. Had a great support from you guys. I really appreciate that. So what else do we have? Don't think so. We have some good. If you have questions, you can ask me. Otherwise, I don't know what to say now. I've been talking for so long, and yeah, I can talk about space for for whole day, but I just need some topics to talk about, and I'll be able to talk. Okay, so the thing is, let's have this topic: the China's Chang'e 5 mission. I mean, that is going on pretty well. I mean, the thing which they were able to land on the surface. First of all, launch successfully, get to the orbit successfully, then the TLI, and then the capture into the moon orbit, lunar orbit, and then successful descent, successful touchdown, successful sample collection. Yes, they are collecting the sample. Successful transfer of that sample sample which they collected to the ascent vehicle, successful liftoff of the ascent vehicle from the moon, and the successful docking, automated docking, I should say, successful automated docking with the orbiter, which is which was on the orbit, and then the successful transfer of the components, the capsule, towards the orbiter. I mean, so many successes and no failure. I mean, after that transfer, the ascent vehicle and the orbiter was detached, and the ascent vehicle, we got to know that it was landed. The Chinese media said that it was landed onto the surface again, but some people say that it hard landed or it crashed on the surface, so we don't know about it. When is ISRO's next launch? It is in on 17th. Yes, PSLV launch will be there on 17th. I'll be streaming that, and I have some KSP planned for that. Iron the Space Explorer, so don't worry for that. I mean, I know the ISRO doesn't have a very good coverage of the event, and so I'll try to do my part in that. Let's have KSP going side by side with the actual mission. Let's see how it comes out. I'm planning to do that, and I'll be streaming that, so don't worry about it. Let's hope everything goes perfectly there also. But from the previous launch, the PSLV C49 launch, we actually got to know that PSLV is a very pretty hard rocket, and it can actually fly and launch in such bad weather condition. It was literally raining so heavily, and just before the launch, it was literally raining, and then at the time of launch the rain actually stopped, but there was cumulus cloud condition for sure. But ASLV does not care about that. They actually launched, and the mission was successful. I mean, wow. Sometimes yes, I do play SFS. It's on mobile. Actually, the thing is, with the SFS, it has pretty good orbital dynamics. Everything, like if you don't have a PC, you can't play KSP, then you obviously will be playing SFS, and it's a, you can say, pretty good alternative and for mobile version of KSP. But I would then also say, if you can, or if you want to explore more of the space and learn more about rocket science and everything, KSP is best. Jebediah Kerman, with its exploration capabilities and those rapid unscheduled disassembly which happens every time in KSP, makes it so much more fun. The thing is, the green man they have added in KSP adds to the fun. Actually, SFS we don't have that, but in KSP we do have that. To see someone flying up to the space and controlling the vehicle, it is very good thing to watch. Can you make some SFS video of real rockets in SFS but other channel? That would be a thing which I think I won't be able to do other channel right now. But KSP these tutorials are up on my channel already, and right now the next video should be the next part of the tutorial, but that would be in English. I think now I should be saying in English, but I don't feel like uploading the KSP tutorials because the thing is, we already have so many tutorials of KSP. Although they are outdated right now. I mean, they have been uploaded in 2015 2014 or so, but KSP has not had any major changes till then. So yeah, I also don't think so that I should upload, but let's see if I can or if I'll be. Oh, is it Iron the Space Explorer? It's okay, but I don't feel like I can handle 2 channels right now, because this channel is like will becoming a really hard to handle just because of so many launches and everything. So let's hope whatever I'm doing goes to a successful thing. I mean, I'm pretty passionate about space exploration, space flight, and space events, and I want to discuss and spread knowledge and spread awareness about that. That's why I have opened up this channel. So yeah, we are right now around 6 minutes from the second engine start to happen, and let's see what happens at that time. Yeah, just right now, if you have just joined in, we had a successful liftoff of the Falcon 9 vehicle with no problem, and a successful landing of the Falcon 9 booster, and then the successful good orbit insertion, and then finally right now we are in coasting phase, in which we are just coasting, and once we have reached a point where they can start the engine for the second time, they will, and it will reach the apogee to a certain amount of distance, and then will be like a geotransfer orbit, so around 4,000 kilometers. Yes, Iron Gaming, I got you. Right now flying just over Africa, as we can see here, and the blue orbit which you are right now seeing here is the orbit which it will take in the next rotation. Okay, if it does not light up the engine, and so it will like take that orbit, and we can see that at this point where the blue and gray orbit line, you can say, is there a boundary or something there? I suppose will be the ignition of the engine, which will change the orbit, and hence it is looking like that. So after changing the orbit, it will take that blue orbit. Otherwise, if it does not light up the engine, it will continue on with the gray orbit. Yeah, that's how it is done. Okay, talking about the Chang'e 5, it is right now on its way towards the Earth with successful transfer burn also from the moon to the Earth, and hopefully on 16th we will be seeing a fireball, and it will be landing successfully on to the Mongolia. That's what they say, Northern Mongolia in China. Yeah, that's the thing. How much time left? Around 3 minutes or so for the ignition to happen. We can see in the timeline that's SES2 and then the SECO2. So since you can see here, they does not light up this engine for very long, because you can see this thing actually has such a great thrust to weight ratio that for just lighting up this engine for like 10 to 20 seconds will raise the apogee so much because of its humongous thrust to weight ratio, the Falcon 9. And yes, I'll be streaming. I'll try my best to get some streamable content, and I'll be streaming this Chang'e 5 return also. Let's see what we can get. We have tons of launches planned on December also. The next launch coming up is the very interesting rocket that also is the Angara rocket from Roscosmos, the Russian space agency, and they will be literally launching it after like so many years. It was first launched in 90s, and then it wasn't launched after so much time. Now it is launching again with a dummy payload. That's what they say, but people say that like it is carrying something, and that something it could be some spy satellite or something like that, which people don't want to know, should not know. Yeah, that's the thing. And but for that I don't think so we will be having a live stream, just some Twitter updates maybe. That's the only what we get, but we'll get all, and then we will be having this Astra rocket launch also. It was previously scrubbed because of the weather issue. We will be having the Astra rocket launch, then we will be having the Rocket Lab Electron launch on 15th, I suppose. And then acquisition of signal is confirmed. That's a pretty good thing. Then 16th is Chang'e 5 return mission. Then on 17th we have wow, so many missions planned in succession. In 17th we have ISRO's PSLV XL launch, and then on 18th also we have the Falcon 9 launch of the NROL 108 mission, if I'm not wrong. Wow, so many launches. Hi Labrat, I was just waiting for.
Welcome back to our webcast for the Sirius SXM-7 mission. To recap what's happened so far this afternoon, we had a smooth liftoff at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. 2.5 minutes later, our first and second stages successfully separated. The first stage, which made its 7th flight today, landed on our drone ship. Just read the instructions. And the second stage completed its first burn, successfully inserting the SXM-7 and second stage into its planned parking orbit. Right now, we're coming up on the second burn of the upper stage engine here in just a couple of minutes. Currently, the flight computer is commanding the settling thrusters to turn on and off, releasing nitrogen gas that helps lightly push the stage, allowing propellant to stay at the bottom of the tank above the engine, right where we need it.
Wow, that's a good info we got today. That's why I always watch these rocket launches.
We're expecting that second engine start to occur in a couple of seconds.
Get some good info also. I didn't know about this thing, but I used to see this thing every time. And here we go.
And there we can see that MVAC engine has ignited.
Started. Raising the apogee
and
for
the
this
nozzle
thing.
Beginning to turn a lovely orange. At this point in time, the second stage will burn for about 45 seconds, adding over 2,000 meters per second to the second stage's speed, before shutting it down for a second time.
Exactly.
That shutdown event is called SECO 2, or Second Engine Cutoff Number 2.
Be happening in 10 seconds or so. And cut off. Here we go.
This burn places the SXM satellite into the required orbit prior to separating it from Falcon 9.
Wow.
And we had confirmation that we have a good burn.
Yes,
Nominal orbit insertion.
And nominal orbit
that's what
for
we want.
that second stage. As a reminder for those tuning in, the SXM-7 satellite is still attached to the Falcon 9 second stage. That second stage is now going to start a slow spin, which will help stabilize the SXM-7 satellite when it's released. This transition will take about 5 minutes, with satellite separation at approximately T+31 minutes and 38 seconds. While we'll wait for the satellite to get closer to its final destination, we'll pause commentary for now during this quick coast phase, but we'll come back in just before separation takes place in about 3 minutes. So we'll be back here at T+30 minutes. Stay tuned.
Wow. Okay, so hi Labrats. He says I see the Virgin Electric had at Galactic had an abort. Yes, they had an abort, and just the engine ignited for like 2 seconds or so, and then they had an abort. Since they can abort, because first of all they can abort because of the hybrid rocket engine they are using, not the solid, not the liquid, the hybrid, the solid as well as the liquid. Solid is the main propellant, and the liquid is the liquid oxygen. That's why they were able to abort it. But from that we could see that Virgin Galactic can properly and safely abort at that time, and can land safely back towards the landing runway. That's a pretty good thing which they achieved, I mean. And yes, they didn't release any update as in what went wrong with it, so we don't know what went wrong, and obviously they didn't live stream also, so we don't know what actually went wrong. Why did they had an abort? So once that comes out, I'll give you the update. And yes, guys, if you have if you want to support me, you can always support me on Patreon. Link is down in the description. Like this stream, subscribe, and super chat is enabled for the one-time funding. I see that this stream is like having the yellow $sign. I don't know for what reason, but don't think so I'll be getting something out of it from now. So yeah, there is some issue with the YouTube, like whenever I play that music in starting of the stream, that particular music only, I get yellow sign. I don't know why. Literally, that's a YouTube song, and I'll see what I can do about it. But here we are.
Welcome back to our coverage of the SXM-7 mission for Sirius XM. If you're just joining us, we had an on-time launch at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, followed by a successful ascent, stage separation, first stage landing, and 2 second stage engine burns. We have just one more major milestone coming up today, which of course is the deployment of the SXM-7 satellite from the Falcon 9 second stage, which you see there on your screen now. That separation is scheduled to take place about a minute from now. The satellite that we're carrying on board today, the SXM-7, is Sirius XM's next generation high power broadcasting satellite.
Acquisition of signal HPK.
It was designed to provide service for more than 15 years, and it'll be joining Sirius XM's active fleet to provide audio entertainment and data services to the continental United States, Canada, Puerto Rico, and the Caribbean. It'll be outputting over 8,000 watts of content, meaning it will deliver the highest power density of any commercial satellite on orbit. And it's intended to replace the XM3 satellite that is currently on orbit, about 20 seconds away from that payload deployment. There on your screen, we have a great shot of the SXM-7 satellite.
See the altitude rising so rapidly, and that is nominal because it has to reach around 4,000 kilometers, so it has to rise. The orbit need to be like rising.
Payload separation confirmed.
And there on your screen, we can see that the payload has separated.
Wow.
We've received confirmation of that successful separation of the SXM-7 satellite from our second stage, which will be bringing our webcast today to a close. Thank you to Sirius XM for entrusting us with the SXM-7 satellite. This mission marked the 7th launch and landing for this particular Falcon 9 booster, SpaceX's 69th successful booster landing, and despite a crazy 2020, our 25th launch this year. To the range and FAA, we appreciate having your support for today's mission. And to all of our viewers, as always, thank you for joining us and have a great day.
Okay. Little bit glitch here. Okay. It will be like ending the stream. Obviously, we can see this satellite coasting away with such a beautiful glare from the sun, right? Wow. Okay, here we have. I don't know what is the fate of the second stage. I think so it will re-enter the atmosphere once it will like coast to the apogee, and then it will burn to re-enter the atmosphere. And yeah, thanks Aaron Gaming, really appreciate that. And yeah, we had a successful liftoff, successful stage separation, MECO stage separation, the second engine start, and then we had a successful landing also, which was like a little bit of drama because we lost the feed just before the landing. But yeah, how can SpaceX don't land this thing on the drone ship? Yeah, obviously they will. So yeah, that landing was successful. Then the second engine start was also successful, and everything was successful. So yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate that. And let's hope and let's meet again on hopefully tomorrow. Let's hope we get some stream or not. And day after tomorrow I'm always there. So yeah, let's hope we meet again. That's what I have to say. Until then, this is Pianshu Roila. You just saw Rocket Gyan. Stay safe, stay healthy, and bye bye.